Hey, what's up? It's Radeint here, and I wanted to bring you a Pauper deck tech today, Improvise Control. Pretty cool deck we've been playing the last couple months, and kind of testing out and tweaking a little bit. And just to give you an update, I apologize for not being able to put out that many videos lately. Been really busy. I'm glad to bring this video and show it to you. But going forward, the next week or so might be a little busy as well. But I'm going to try to get out something probably next weekend or the week after that. And then just an update going into the summertime. I want to be doing some more Pauper deck techs, some EDH Commander deck techs, and just putting up the same kind of gameplay videos of Pauper, different decks that we got, and put up some EDH or Commander gameplay. And I want to keep doing those gameplay videos of decks that other people on YouTube have made where they don't provide a gameplay video, just so people can see how the deck works, if they want to pick it up or not. Just sometimes reading the list is kind of like, does this work? How does it play? Is it okay? So I'll keep doing that. And I know just watching those, sometimes I make some mistakes, but you all can tell like if that's something that you think's pretty good or not good, or if you want to play it or not. So I like doing those videos. But let's jump right into Improvise Control here. And this deck was based off the base deck that Dev from Strictly Better MTG on YouTube had created for Standard. It was an all common deck with new cards in the Kaladesh block or the Kaladesh Standard set. So we took it and tweaked it a little bit. It didn't work out like all commons the way he had it in Pauper, so we made it a little bit more feasible to play in Pauper. And some of the changes that we made were from myself and also from some of the viewers' recommendations that they left in the comments. And some of those people are Dylan Tino, Fleet Will Mac, Tracer Burn, John Houston. They made some recommendations, and it really helped out. And so let's take a look at what the deck looks like. So starting off with our improvising cards, because that's the main idea of the deck, is improvising, which was a mechanic in the newer sets, and that's why I wanted to play this deck mainly, is because it plays some of the cards from the newer sets that I've released, like Kaladesh, the Eldrazi set. So it's kind of fun just playing some of the new cards. So first we're going to start off with Bastion Inventor. It is Improvise and Hexproof for 4/4. We'll play 4 of those cards. So our artifacts can help us. We can tap our artifacts to pay the colorless mana cost for Bastion Inventor or any Improvise type cards. So that's like one of the main cards for the main idea of improvising. The other card that has Improvise is Metallic Rebuke. So it can counter a target spell unless its controller pays 3. So that's more the control side of the Improvise control deck. We'll play 4 of those, and those are going to be obviously better early in the game. And then Gearseeker Serpent, it doesn't have Improvise, but it's kind of like the same idea, and we got that in there as the other finisher. So we got Bastion Inventor, and then we got Gearseeker Serpent. We'll play 2 of those just because it's a little bit tougher to get that out with the cost, but if we do get it out, we can pay 6 and it can't be blocked this turn. You could add more, maybe take away a Metallic Rebuke and play 3 of those, but I feel like with Bastion Inventor and 2 of the Gearseeker Serpents, that's enough to kind of finish them off once we get those guys out. So, and Gearseeker Serpent costs 1 less to cast for each artifact you control, and then if you have 5 artifacts out, you only have to pay 2 blue. So pretty cool to play that card later in the game. And then once you pay that 6, you can make it unblockable. So those are the main idea of the improvising cards. So let's move into our artifacts. We're going to play some 0 mana artifacts just to get those out on the field so we can start that improvise engine. One of them is going to be Cathar's Shield. Creature gets +3 or +0/+3 and has Vigilance. So we can throw that on our Bastion Inventor or our Serpent. And then we have Bonesaw. Equipped creature gets +1/+0. The Cathar's Shield is a little bit more to equip. we mainly want that card out there just to give us another artifact and get it out quicker so that we can play the Improvise mechanic a little faster. Same with the Bone Saw, we just need to get the artifacts out on the battlefield into play so that we can play them. But we can equip that to our Bastion Inventor, the Bone Saw, and that'll give us a little bit more damage at the end of the game, or when we get that guy out, just to knock him down and take him to 0. Put him on the Serpent, make it a 6/6. So that plays a lot better than the Cathar Shield. And then we have some other artifacts that we'll go over that we can equip those to help on our defense. Looking at more of our artifacts that provide a little bit more utility for us are the Aether Spell Bomb for 1 mana. We can pay 1 blue, sacrifice it, and return a creature to its owner's hand. So if there's a creature in the way that we don't want to block our Bastion Inventor or Serpent, we can pop this thing off, sacrifice, or just pay the 1 blue and get their creature back to their hand, and then we can get through for our 5 or 6 damage. Also, we can pay 1 colorless, sacrifice Aether Spell Bomb, and draw a card. So we'll play 2 of those. It's just kind of a utility aspect to it. Put that artifact out, and also helps. All these will help with our Improvise mechanic. Prophetic Prism, basically just used as an artifact for the Improvise, and then we can, when it comes into the play, we get a card. So getting that card draw is pretty important since we're throwing out those 0 mana artifacts, throwing out these low cost artifacts. Spire Golem, that guy's going to be our main defense guy. That was kind of recommended by the viewers. We did have Consulate Skygate, which you could use as well, which is a 0/4. Helps block things like Delver Secrets. But this is a good card because it gives you 2/4. It provides a flying evasion type creature, gives you that defense of the 4 toughness, and the affinity for islands on this card helps you get it out a little faster because the cost is 6. But once you get 4 islands out, then it's only 2 islands, or 2 mana to cast this thing. So pretty good efficient card. And then we have Explosive Apparatus for 1 colorless mana. Get that out, another artifact. If we pay 3 colorless, we can tap it, sacrifice it, and deal 2 damage to a target creature or target player. So this card's great for dealing damage to a creature that's in the way, or something that is giving them a lot of utility, or providing them with their combos or their main idea. So we'll get rid of their creatures, or we can use it as a game finisher. We might have 2 of these out. We can pay 6 islands, 6 mana, and deal 4 damage to them and just finish them off that way. So throwing that explosive apparatus at them is pretty useful. So we'll have 4 of those. We'll have 4 of the creatures because we want to have something out there in front as the defense, and then 3 of the Prophetic Prisms just to, you know, have some card draw. I think 4 would be too many, but 2 is like not enough to get the card draw. Plus it's given us that Improvise mechanic, the ability to go off. So looking at some control cards that we have in the deck, we'll look at Counterspell. We're going to run 4 of those. These are probably our main control here in Condescend. So Counterspell, we can just counter their spell. We don't want them playing anything that's really good for them, anything that could hurt us, so we'll counter their spells. And then Condescend, we can counter target spell unless the controller pays X. So it's X and 1 blue. And so based on how much mana they have, we can kind of pay to make sure that they can't counter it, or if we just want to make them use up their mana. What's great about this card is also that we get the Scry too, so we can kind of get our play in order for our next turn. So that's a really good card. That was also a recommendation from some of the viewers. So those are our main control cards, 7 cards altogether. Somebody had mentioned that 8's a little about where we want to be, so I think 7's pretty good. And then looking at some other utility cards that are more like spells, Thoughtcast is going to help us draw 2 cards, and it has affinity for artifacts. So as we're getting these artifacts out, as the game goes on, if we need to draw cards, the cost of this will get cheaper. So it's a pretty good efficient card, especially in this deck. And then Slip Through Space is going to be pretty important for 1 blue mana. This creature, we can make a target creature that can't be blocked this turn. So once we get our Bastion Inventor out there, our Gearseeker Serpent, and we need to get through, we can use this card to push through their lines and make sure we're hitting that damage. Also, what's great is we get to draw a card afterwards, so getting that draw again. And then looking at our lands, we're just going to run 17 islands and then 4 Seat of the Synod, because the Seat of the Synod is an artifact land, and that's going to build into making sure that we have either so that we have more artifacts out there for Gearseeker Serpent, or for Affinity to Artifact, those cards that have affinity on them. So those are really good to have 4 of those. If you can't afford those, or you don't want to run those or don't have them, just go ahead and put in 4 more islands. It's not going to make a huge difference, but it definitely helps out having those 4 artifact lands in your deck. And then looking at the sideboard, what we want to do is, or what I thought I would want to do, is have a lot more counterspell, just in case we just need to do more to hold off so we can get our finishers out there. So we're going to run Dispel 3 of those. Counter target instant spell. This will be good versus those burn type decks where they're just throwing lightning bolts at you, and we can stop them from doing that. Or if they're trying to pump their creatures at an instant speed, we can stop that as well. We'll run some negates. That way, again, we can counter some of those spells in red and some of those other spells that aren't creatures. But it's not specific to just an instant. We can counter the sorceries with those, so you might need to fall back and sub out some of those or put some of those cards in as well. Spell Shrivel is really good. Counter target spell unless its controller pays 4. If that spell is countered this way, it's exiled instead of putting it into its owner's graveyard. That's really good in case they're using a lot of recursion. We can just get rid of those nasty cards and get them out of there. But again, they can pay 4 and keep the spell. It will resolve. But for only 3 mana, it's pretty good. And early in the game, you know, on turn 3 or 4, even 5 sometimes, you know, if they're playing something, they're going to tap a few mana. If they haven't ramped out a lot, they're not going to have the 4 to pay. So it's a pretty good card. And then we'll run more Condescend in case you want to get another counter target spell in there. You can just throw that in there and make that play set in the main deck. A few more sideboard cards. We'll look at Just the Wind. We're going to play 3 of these and also select for inspection. Both these cards return a creature to its owner's hand. That's good again to if they've got a lot of creatures that are blocking us, we can get them out of the way so we can go ahead and deal that damage. Or there's a lot of decks that will make us sacrifice a creature or target removal on our guys. Bastion Inventor we're not too worried about because he's got hexproof, but for our Spire Golems and our Serpent, we might want to get that back to our own hand so that we don't lose it, because we only have a few creatures and we don't want them to be in the graveyard or we're going to lose the ability to kind of finish off the game. So I threw those in there. They don't cost too much, but I mean you're going to be needing to save some mana to be able to use these in a reaction type way. And plus Just the Wind has Madness, so if you're playing a deck that's going to make you discard something, you can always just use it in response if you got some mana open. That way it doesn't go to waste. And then I'll throw another Thoughtcast on the sideboard just in case we're playing against a deck that's making us discard a lot. We might need to draw some more cards, so we'll throw that out into the sideboard as well in case we need to sub that in, just to give us a little bit more card draw. And then I also wanted to put in some budget options because some of these cards did cost a little bit much for Pauper. I mean, they're on the higher end. I mean, not too much, but I mean, if you really want to make the deck really cheap, you could take out the 3 Thoughtcasts out of the main and then take out 1 in the sideboard and just put in 4 more Divinations, and remember, just 1 of those in the sideboard, 3 in the main. You could take out the Spire Golems and put in Consulate Skygate. That was kind of, we were running Consulate Skygate in the main base deck that we had built, but it's just more efficient to run the Spire Golem, I believe. He provides a lot more utility and efficiency than the Consulate Skygate, but I mean, this Consulate Skygate will work to kind of be the defense. You don't have the offense. and you can still use it for improvising, tapping, or getting the serpent out. So you could put 4 of those in and take out the Spire golems. And then continuing with our budget, Condescend, you could take those out and put in Mana Leak. You don't have the option to choose how much mana you want to make them leak, and you can't get the scry. But for 2 mana, you can still kind of do the same thing, and it's a lot cheaper. Probably saves you about maybe $6 or so online. I don't know how much on paper. Probably about the same or maybe a little bit more. So just remember, you gotta swap out 3 in the main deck and 1 in the sideboard. So that's about it. The deck's pretty fun. It's nothing top tier, you know. It's not gonna beat every deck out there, but it's a fun deck using some of the new current cards. So thanks for watching. If you liked the video, remember to subscribe below. And you can follow on Twitter if you like. I always put on there when I tweet out when I post new videos, if that's a good way if you want to stay informed. And then again, thanks for the input from the viewers that I have listed below. They help create this deck and put in some of the recommendations. So if you like the deck, go have fun with it. It's pretty fun. I have fun with it. And I'll see you next time. Thanks. Peace.